Hey, what's going on? 3 o'clock. Crown. They host the Rockies tonight. First pitch from T-Mobile Parks at 6:40 for the AL West Crown. They host the Rockies tonight. First pitch from T-Mobile Parks at 6:40. Bryce Miller gets the call for Seattle. The final 6 games for the Mariners are all at home. 3 against the Rockies and 3 against the Dodgers. They have a 3-game edge on the Astros in the division. Crazy news in college football. Out of one state, Oklahoma, the OSU Cowboys have parted ways with head coach Mike Gundy after 21 seasons. Doug Meacham will fill in as interim for the rest of the year. And bad news for Oklahoma, former Cougar and now Sooner quarterback John Mateer broke his hand and is going to be out at least a month. The Sooners have 6 straight ranked SEC opponents on the schedule coming up in the near future. And great news, Major League Baseball approves robot umps in 2026 for challenges.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's time for the Rip City Drive, hosted by the crazy and often irrational Chad Doing. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
You never know what's going to happen. There are always lots of surprises, both good and bad.
Goff takes turns, gives to Montgomery. 2 hands on that football. There he goes over the right side. 25, 20, cuts to the right at the 15, down to the 10, down to the 5, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Demo to the house, 31 yards. And the Lions have put this game on ice. 2 teams will meet out in the middle of the field to say job well done, job better done on this night by your Detroit Lions as they come into Baltimore and get the victory by a score of 38-30.
Strap in.
You know what that means.
The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
All right. My dad is very upset right now because Oklahoma State has fired Mike Gundy. He's very upset right now because Oklahoma State has fired Mike Gundy and did not allow him to play out the year and say goodbye after 21 seasons with the school. He spent more than half his life in some capacity with Oklahoma State. So crazy day. And then it's one of those days where I was busy doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I was getting ready for the update, and I look at the headlines. I'm like, John Mateer broke his hand? He had surgery on his throwing hand. He's going to be out a month. Well, Oklahoma's done. Their schedule upcoming is one of the worst in all of college football. And it's important to have your quarterback. I mean, it's no different than Penn State losing Drew Aller or Oregon waking up tomorrow and finding out that Dante Moore is going to be out of the lineup. Check out this upcoming slate for the Sooners. They're going to play Kent State on October 4th, basically a bye week. Then after that, Texas, South Carolina on the road, home to Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Alabama, home against Missouri, home against LSU. That's a problem. So if he's out a month, they don't play this week, another week to Kent State, and then you're going to have Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss. You know, they're not going to go unscathed, I can tell you that much. Holy cow. All right, very happy to welcome in studio my good friend and one of my partners here, Chris Burkhart, who was with me on hand for the Damian Lillard reunion rally down in Pioneer Courthouse Square on Sunday. What's up, Burkhart?
Not much. Just, you called. You basically put the bat signal out, and I'm just up on top of the buildings waiting for it. You're Commissioner Gordon. I'm Batman, and here I come.
And just so we're clear, you're really busy today. Like, you listed about 7 different things you've got to do. And I wasn't trying to screw up your life. I just like to give you opportunities to come in and talk sports because I know you love being behind the mic. And you're like, well, I've got all of these things to do. But if you want, I'm yours for the 3 o'clock hour. And I'm like, let's do it.
It's pretty much how it went down.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so many great things, man. Mateer, I hate injuries in football because you have such a short season, especially in college football. And he's going to be out at least a month. He's going to miss multiple key games. They're one of the best teams in the country. They got one of the best defenses in the country, and they're coming off a big win over Auburn. And now he breaks his hand. It sucks. I thought he was going to get hurt in actual gameplay because of all the way he runs around and dives in and looks for contact. Right. He's kind of crazy like that. But this is brutal, man. Brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of came out of nowhere. I know, when those things happen in the game, you always wonder what could be. But then you get out today, and coach comes out and it's like, yeah, he has to have surgery. He's going to miss some time, and that puts a big old wrench in your plans because Oklahoma had been looking good. A lot of people you talk to are like, yeah, I think they might get through the SEC, which is just crazy to think. But they looked great, and now they lost their quarterback.
I love this question here on ESPN. How big a loss is John Mateer for Oklahoma? Well, gee, I don't know. You tell me. I mean, he was the difference. They went out. They had quarterback issue with Jackson Arnold. They went out after the season. They went to Washington State, brought in the offensive coordinator and the quarterback from the Cougs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been the big difference. Quarterback play is everything. Like the Ducks, I think the reason why people were sleeping on Oregon before the year began is only because their only memory of Dante Moore playing quarterback was that season at UCLA when things were rough. He was young. He was inexperienced. So they hadn't seen him play with more experience and understanding the offense with Will Stein. And then all of a sudden he gets out there on the field. You're like, whoa, he's dynamic. He can stretch the field. He can do so many different things. And now people are on board with Oregon. But, yeah, quarterback means everything.
I mean, without a doubt. People were sleeping on Oregon when Bo Nix came in, too, because they didn't know what they had in him, right?
Yeah.
He ended up being great and was a big reason that they had success in the short time he was here. And same thing with Dante Moore. Absolutely. Everyone was sleeping on him because we don't know what they have at quarterback. Roll the tape at UCLA. Didn't look great, but that's a true freshman rolling in there. You get a year to kind of sit there and learn some things, but you still don't know how much he learned and what it looks like. Then he comes out and he's been great, right? So, yeah, if your quarterback's playing like those all-world guys like Mateer is, when he goes down, it's not necessarily as simple as next man up.
All right. I feel for Tony and Boring and the rest of the guys who have to participate in the wedding this weekend. Like Chris, if you look at the college football slate, so far this season, it's the best grouping of games that you could possibly hope for on one Saturday, including Oregon and Penn State. Alabama is going to take on Georgia, and USC making a trip to Illinois. And that's just a small fraction of the games that we have this weekend, including the Friday night game on Fox, TCU at Arizona State. Like, it's a weekend packed with action. But the marquee game, at least in my mind, is Oregon and Penn State. So your first thought coming out of the Civil War on Oregon and Penn State, what do you think?
Both teams are going to face their first real test. Right now, it's unfortunate for Oregon, who has to come in and face a Penn State team off a bye week, going with the whiteout, right? But Oregon, at the same time, has done everything they've needed to do when it comes to dominating football games, right? They have handled every single opponent they've had. They've looked good doing it. There are people who will get mad at the way it looked at Oregon State at times, and then you look at the final box score, like they held Oregon State to 58 yards rushing. They made Malik Murphy rush through his progressions because they were trying to get pressure on him. They weren't even bringing a lot of blitzing packages, right? They are playing very good football, as is Penn State. The winner of this definitely has a leg up in that conference.
All right, here's the schedule in terms of how your Friday and Saturday are going to line up, assuming you're not at a wedding, for crying out loud. On Friday, two very good games. 4 o'clock on ESPN, number 8, Florida State, undefeated, playing in an underrated Virginia squad. FSU favored by 6.5. Friday night at 6 on Fox, number 24 TCU's at Arizona State. A battle of two great quarterbacks in Josh Hoover and Sam Leavitt. Now on Saturday morning, Burkhardt, 9 o'clock on Fox, USC is at Illinois. Both teams ranked in the top 25. USC's unbeaten at 4-0. Illini are now 3-1 after the loss at Indiana. The Trojans are a 7-point favorite. This could be an upset alert game. But what I like about what Lincoln Riley has done this year with the Trojans so far, they're overachieving. But I looked at their numbers. They're 12th in the nation in rushing, and they're averaging over 7 yards per rush. What I'm seeing right now from Lincoln Riley is the Lincoln Riley that I saw at Oklahoma, where you think a lot of hully-gully football where you're throwing it around the yard, but really what it's built on is the run game. We're going to run the football first, be a great run team, and then get the play action working. So I've been impressed with what Lincoln Riley has done. Notre Dame at Arkansas at 9 on ABC. At 12:30, number 1 Ohio State's at Washington. Both teams unbeaten at 3-0. At 12:30 on ABC, number 4 LSU's at number 13 Ole Miss. Right now, Ole Miss is a 1.5-point favorite. Auburn at Texas A&M, ESPN at 12:30. 12:30 on Peacock, number 11 Indiana at Iowa, 4-0 against 3-1. Tennessee's at Mississippi State. The Bulldogs are a surprise 4-0 squad right now in the SEC. Arizona at 3-0 is at Number 14, Iowa State, who's 4-0. That game's at 4. At 4:30, you've got Oregon and Penn State. That line remains Penn State favored by 3.5. 4:30 on ABC, it's Alabama and Georgia. And there you have it. Those are the marquee games in the top 25 on Saturday. Like, that's a day where you can wake up in the morning, get your coffee, get a little snack, and you can spend the rest of the day on the couch content with what's going on between you and the TV screen. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that is a schedule of college football. Let me tell you what. That's
I need that in my life.
That's beautiful. I mean, getting Bama, Georgia, Oregon, Penn just in the same weekend alone is fun. Everything else you just mentioned, yeah, it's a good week.
I love it. So that's what we're looking at, and we're going to dive into this Penn State-Oregon game. And we got to talk about Mike Gundy, 21 years at the same school. My dad's upset. You know, he's a Cowboy grad, did his undergrad and graduate work there. He loves Mike Gundy and just thinks that it was probably time to part ways. He's just upset that they didn't let him play out the year and walk without having to have this mutual parting, which means he was fired. But I was trying to explain to my dad that, look, when you make moves right now in college football, with the portal now being open for the players to exit, like, you got to get out in front of it. You can't wait until the end of the year. You've got to make the move now, figure out who your head coach is going to be moving forward to try and, mitigate some of the damage that's going to be done. It's a tough time to transition from a big-name coach for a program that's experiencing downtime. It's not easy.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. It's, everything in the current landscape of college football, I think, has changed conventional thinking, right? I mean, this is completely different than in years past. Also, like the way the portal is, right? The 30-day window now. If you fire a coach, those players have 30 days to go hit the portal. Maybe you do that because you're like, hey, not a lot of opportunities, and this is a chance for me to actually keep some of these guys for the rest of the year. Like, there's so much that plays into it. I mean, the whole Gundy thing, like, I don't think he's a bad coach in the least, but I think he is possibly a sign of things to come for future coaches, because some of these old heads who are really, really good X's and O's wise, but haven't adapted to the landscape of NIL and the portal and still view things the old recruiting way. I think those types of coaches are going to start to get run around a little bit. You're seeing it with Clemson and Dabo. Dabo's avoided the portal at all costs. Like, you got to hit these things because that's just what new age college football is.
Yeah. And Dabo's a great coach. Mike Gundy is a terrific head coach, one of the longest tenured coaches in college football, right up there with Kirk Ferentz at Iowa. Dabo Swinney, he's won multiple championships at Clemson, but you're right. Things have changed. You got to do more fundraising now. You've got to embrace the portal because that's the name of the game. How about this? How about the Mariners right now with 6 games to go? 3-game lead in the AL West after that sweep of the Astros. They've got a stranglehold on the division. As long as they don't fall apart now over the final week, they'll be fine.
Yeah, you got knock.
They've got a stranglehold on the division. As long as they don't fall apart now over the final week, they'll be fine.
Yeah, you got knock on wood when you say that. But it is interesting. You talked about it with Travis on Friday, and he's like, all they got to do is win this series, and it puts them in a good spot. Sweeping would be better, but just win it. And they went out there and swept, which is massive, massive victory for them.
All right. Chris Burkhart's with me for the first hour. We're going to really dive into Oregon and Penn State coming up next. You can jump on board. Follow us on YouTube, youtube.com. Pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620. Be sure to like and subscribe to the page. You can find me on social at Chad and Rip City. And, of course, a great way to listen live and follow us, podcast of programs via our free iHeartRadio app. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. I was having a conversation earlier today with, I think, on air about smells that aren't necessarily awful, but they can kind of gross you out a little bit. And so he was talking about how he doesn't like the smell of a ripe banana. And I'll have to go home and smell a ripe banana. But it's weird he mentioned that. And I know what it smells like, but I need to smell it again to make sure I know. But he said there were some people that said they don't like the smell of coffee. And to me, like, there are certain smells that I thought were just kind of universal. Like, coffee would be one of them. Like, I know a lot of people that don't drink coffee, but they like the smell of it. And also when you walk into a movie theater and you get the popcorn aroma.
Oh, yeah.
Or when you're walking through a shopping mall and you smell like the Cinnabon from afar. Like, those are all smells I just thought were universal. Whether you partake in the product or not, you're like, I like that smell.
Or like when you walk down Main Street in Disney and they pump in the smell of cookies just to get you excited to go buy some stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fresh baked cookies that are coming out of the oven. There's certain smells like that are very nice. And then there are smells that we know that are just awful. But yeah, which one of those do you like the most? Coffee, popcorn? Like, what jumps out at you?
Gosh, that's such a good one. I'd probably just go a fresh baked, like a cookie is always hits. Like, you walk in, like if you walk into the house and Danielle has made some like brownies or a cake, I always, ooh, what you baking? Like, it just hits you. You know it. Coffee's another one. 'Cause I walked into the house the other day and she made some coffee and doesn't always have coffee brewing at the house, right? So you walk in, you smelt it instantly. And it's like just the smell kind of perked you up a little bit. Coffee's a good one.
Yeah, coffee's fabulous. And I'm a coffee snob now because I've been drinking good coffee for so long that, like, I can walk into different coffee shops and just by the smell, I'm like, that's good coffee. That's really good coffee. All right, Burkhart, we got to talk about a couple of different things. But first off, I'll just say it out loud so everyone knows where I'm coming from. I think the Ducks are going to win on Saturday. And here's why. I think the key matchup is this. It's Penn State's offensive line, which is probably the best in the country, against the Oregon defensive front. If Oregon wins first and second down and they put Drew Aller in third down and long, I don't think he can consistently make enough plays to move the chains to win the game. So I guess what I'm saying is that I think the Ducks will win and do enough up front with their defensive line to put Penn State in those awkward third down and long situations. That's how I see the game playing out. Mm-hmm. And I think because Penn State's expected to compete for a championship this year, they're at home. If the Ducks avoid the early storm and all of a sudden you got a close, tight ball game in the third and fourth quarter, I think the pressure is going to play to Oregon's favor. So that's how I see it playing out. I think it's that battle right there. Penn State offensive line, Oregon defensive front that will determine the outcome. I mean, what do you think is the key? What are you looking at?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. And then for me, it's Dante Moore. Okay, we talked about him earlier, how he's looked really good this season. He absolutely has, but he hasn't been tested, right? He's going to have pressure on him. He's going to have defensive backs who are going to try to confuse him. He's going to have a defensive sets that are going to disguise where their rushes are coming from like he hasn't seen all year.
Yes.
And so he's going to be tested. So can he play flawless football like he has for most of this year and put them in a position to succeed? Because if he is, overcome by the moment and he plays sloppy, then I don't think Oregon really has a chance to win that game. I think it relies totally on him.
I agree. His non-conference play has been Heisman worthy, but this game this weekend is the biggest game that he's played in his career. And again, that's only spanning a few games at UCLA and Oregon, but this is the biggest game he's been in. What I think the key for him is like I've heard coaches talk about this before, like in a big game like the Super Bowl, where you try to get your quarterback some easy completions early in the game because the adrenaline flow is so high that it's easy to overshoot a guy or overthrow a target. So you get him the easy dump off or maybe a screen pass to kind of get them into a rhythm. So my whole thought with Dante is like put him in a position to where he's not trying to make a difficult throw in the first drive or two so that if that adrenaline gets the best of him, he doesn't overthrow a guy over the middle and it results in a turnover. Because the only issue I see with Oregon is that if the emotion of the game, like an early turnover by the Ducks that leads to maybe back-to-back scores for Penn State, you just don't want to get into a big hole early. And if they can weather that early emotion to where it's just you get past that, it's two teams at a high level playing a close game, then I think Oregon's going to be fine. But for Dante Moore, I just think it's those first couple of drives controlling the emotion because he's going to be pumped. I would be.
Oh, I would be
Biggest
too.
game ever?
I'd have butterflies, that's for sure.
With the whiteout?
Yeah, and you definitely, it's again, how you weather the storms, like you said, is important because this is also the type of game where, like, I fully expect that there's probably going to be an interception that he throws. You're like, oh, what was that? And might from Aller as well, because you're going to be playing two high-level defenses, two good offenses. Like, they're going to be throwing haymakers, right? So how do you recover if you do make that mistake is absolutely huge.
The one thing that's been nice that I've seen from Moore, and again, yes, I take into consideration the competition with the wins that they've had, but everything that he's done in terms of running the offense, it's been on schedule. Like, he's getting rid of the football on time, on target. Like, he doesn't look confused out there. He's been getting in and out of the huddle. The whole operation has been smooth, and that just gives me, there's a certain comfort level when you're watching it, but that gives me confidence of where this team is at going into this game. Like, it was nice that Oregon got 4 games to be able to prepare for this big game against Penn State. Now, of course, the Lions, they have a couple of things. They have one thing working against them. They played nobody. Like, you talk about a bum schedule. They haven't no competition, but they also get the bye week, so they have all this extra time to prepare and throw in some of the curveballs that we might see early in that football game. But I like where Oregon's at, man. The offensive line continuity, the defensive play, the way they're running the football now. Like, I like where they're at. I think they're in a good spot going into this game against Penn State.
Yeah, I think they are. And I like the way, the way they're running the ball has been great. They're going out there and gashing them for about 7 yards per carry, which is wonderful. You have plenty of different running backs that can bring something different to the table with how they all run, so you can attack the defense in a variety of different ways. I think the biggest question mark coming in was the receiving group, right, with the injuries to Evan Stewart and losing some key guys to the NFL, and I think the young guys have stepped up. Decorian Moore has been absolutely incredible. I think this is another one where you need to have Sadiq just have another phenomenal game like he did in the championship game against Penn State. Like, there's a lot of things to like from Oregon, and like you said, they got these games out of the way, and you can argue all day long about, oh, well, it was a cupcake schedule, and Penn State's was too, right? But you still have to take care of those. Like the cupcake schedule, air quotes, this year, you played through it, and you feel much different than you did last year, right? When you felt like you struggled to beat Idaho, and then it was a struggle to beat Boise State, right? Now, Boise State ended up being far better than anyone thought they were at the time, ended up going to the playoffs, right? But right now, you're taking control, and you're doing the little things that you need to do to put yourself in the best spot forward when you do get and match up against a team like Penn State.
What I love most about their offense, you mentioned the run game. Last year, they struggled to run the football effectively. They averaged about 4.6 yards a carry. So far this year, 10th in the country, averaging 255 yards a game at 6.7 a pop. Like, that's back to the Oregon ground dominance that we're used to seeing. Like, there's been incredible balance in the offense between the run and the pass, but that's when Oregon's at their best. When they're running the football and they've got the play action at work and the defense isn't really sure which way they're going to go and you get them guessing out there, I think it's a beautiful thing. And it's because of the offensive line play. I didn't expect the line with the new guys coming in to be this well connected so early in the season, but it has been from basically the opening kickoff. That's huge, especially when you go into play a big game like this. You need those guys up front playing with cohesiveness. 5 guys working as one, and that's what I'm seeing right now. I didn't expect to see that early, but it's been there.
No, it's exactly what you need from that line, right? Like you said, they are a unit. They are made up of individuals, but they are a unit at the end of the day, right? And so you got to get the best that you can from them. They're playing well, and I think the interesting part about the run game, Chad, is not just the fact that you rattle off those numbers and what they're averaging, but it's not as if it's not like the LaMichael James era, right? Where it was, a 50-yard burner and then a 70-yard run and these big, just absolute home run hits. It's just we're hitting them, we're nickel them, they're diming them, right? This chunk play. And that's what I love, because that just means you're really winning those battles. You're opening up those holes, man.
This might be a lower scoring game. Oregon right now, 12th in the country in total defense, and Penn State tied for 9th. So these are two teams. Again, you got to keep the competition in mind, but defensively, these are two very stout football teams, and both teams run it really well. So I think it's going to be great. But the one reason why I just can't get around Penn State is we've seen the track record now for years under James Franklin where he puts together good teams. They recruit really well, but they don't win big games. They lose to the likes of Michigan, Ohio State. Last year it was Ohio State and Oregon. And their two biggest wins came in the playoff against SMU and Boise. So James Franklin has yet to win that real big marquee regular season game. This will be the next one on the list for him, but I've seen it enough to know that I just can't buy into James Franklin in this spot until he proves to me he can get it done. And, Dan Lanning, the one thing I credit him for over the last few years is that he's gotten better with his operation, decision-making, and the things that he has to do to prepare his team for big games and also make better in-game decisions. I just think I trust Dan Lanning more in this spot than I do James Franklin. Pretty simple.
Well, that's what Franklin's done. So he needs this one. He needs that big victory, right? I mean, it's the same thing that people knocked to Ryan Day for, and then he goes out and gets it done and wins a championship. So all is forgiven. But you talk about Penn State and the big games and the games they won last year, and that's why this run game is going to be pivotal because you look at that game against Boise State. I came away from that game last year, Chad. That was actually probably my favorite Ashton Jeanty game. And everyone points to the fact, he got bottled up. He didn't have his big games, his 200-yard games. He rushed the ball 30 times. He had 104 yards, 3.5 yards per carry. And if you watch that game, Boise State had no offensive line. They could not match with Penn State's defense, right? And their running back was still able to get 100 yards. That's just how good Ashton Jeanty is. This time around, you don't have an Ashton Jeanty in the backfield, but you have an offensive line that can match with that Penn State defensive front. And they're going to be able to open those holes down low. So how you win those battles is going to be really, really interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Both teams allowing less than 230 yards per game in total defense. So I'm pumped. Have you been to a game in Happy Valley?
Oh, no, but I wish I would. I wish I was at this one, man. Whiteout, Oregon there. Oh, what? That's like a bucket list stadium, man.
It's going to be great.
Why aren't we there? Why can't we take the show on the road?
I've never been to a game there. I would love to go. I've only been to Pennsylvania, I think, one time when I went to Philly, but I have not been to a game at Penn State. And I've never been a Penn State fan, but that's one of those stadiums and settings. It goes back to what I've talked about with college football. I love how every different college campus and stadium, they all have their different traditions, the way they do game days, the stadium settings for each. It's not a corporate feel like the NFL. It's totally different.
No.
Each town is different in terms of how they do football, and I think that's what makes it great.
That's part of the reason I love college football more than I like the NFL, and I love the NFL. But college football, there's something so special, whether it's Penn State or you're going to Tennessee, you're going to Tuscaloosa, right? I want to go to Death Valley. Depends which one you're talking about. You're going to Clemson or LSU. Guess what? I kind of want to go to both. Like everyone has this unique one, except Miami. They're dumb and they play in Hard Rock Stadium and lost all their luster. No,
yeah.
Bring back the Orange Bowl. Oh wait, they can. It's a baseball stadium now. Like, oh my gosh! But you're right, man. The pageantry, the history, the traditions that make college football unique are so special.
I love it. Oregon and Penn State kickoff will be at 4:30. It's going to be on NBC and Peacock, and that line has remained steady. Penn State is favored by 3.5. But the good thing here. And this is, again, you have to remind yourself of this because it's so brand new to college football. This is one of the benefits of the playoff expansion, Burkhardt. You don't have to win this game, meaning your season is not over. Your playoff hopes are not over. Your pursuit of a national championship is not over. So that's what I like about playoff expansion. In the past, you knew in a game like this, if you lose it, you would be at risk of maybe not competing for a championship. But now, if you go in there and you walk away, let's say Penn State gets the win, Oregon's just got to continue to move forward, knowing that they're going to play their way back into playoff position, no doubt. Same thing with Penn State. The one reason why I think this game is big is because the tiebreak will be there. And more than likely, it's going to be a battle of three teams, Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, to get into the Big Ten title game. So this is a game you want to have so you got the tiebreak because it's probably going to come down to that at the end of the year to determine who's going to play in the Big Ten title game.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, it was roughly this time last year, right? When Ohio State comes into Autzen, takes the tough loss on the, sliding as time expires, right? Guess what? Their season wasn't over.
No.
They didn't even make it to the Big Ten championship game.
No, and they lost their last game of the year to Michigan.
Right. but their season wasn't over because they're still able to get in that playoff, and that's what matters.
All right. Big game. I'm loving it. These are the type of matchups that we dream of, but I got to be honest with you, like watching Oregon this past weekend against Oregon State, just looking at the athletes that are on the field and the job that Lanning has done taking over for Cristobal and seeing on both sides of the ball, the defenders, even the receiving core that was young and I know a lot of people are concerned about, like I just can't get over the depth and the quality of athlete on their roster. It's mind-blowing.
Well, they got dudes. They have freshmen in there. This is a team that is battling for and believes to themselves to be a national championship contender, playing freshmen.
Yes.
That's the type of talent they're bringing in.
And when you got depth, Burkhardt, this is the big difference now with Oregon. In the past, you could have great top-line guys, but if you got hit with injuries, you were screwed. But now Oregon is recruiting and getting players in like a lot of the top programs are, so you can survive injury because you got quality players that can come in and play. It's awesome.
And that's what you need. You can't go.
How far this program has come.
Right. You can't go too deep. Right. You have to go 3, 4. You have to have a roster. And you're showing it right now in the run game. Right. When you have 7 different backs out there who can take the ball and run and give you a good game. And I think even behind Dante Moore, like if he got hurt, that'd be devastating. But I think this team definitely trust Novosad to get it done. I mean, I would love to go see, Keely Smith Jr. just get a run just to say I did. Like you have depth and people you can trust, and that's big. Big.
Where are you watching the game? Now, is your dad, I know your dad's a 49er fan. Is he a Duck fan?
He's a Duck fan. He more kind of dabbles in college football. See, because the meat market is open on Saturdays, has always been open on Saturdays. So Saturday was never a football day for him. Sunday was his football day.
Because he's a working man.
Yeah, because he's working.
And his last name is?
Butcher. Butcher owns the meat shop. I know you don't believe me, but I'm going to bring him in here one day.
It's right up there with Joe Fan saying his last name is Fan.
Right.
As a sports guy. It's like, come on, no, it's not. Your last name's not Fan, and your dad's last name is not Butcher. I will need documentation before I can just buy into that 100%.
Right, we're going to have to
It's too perfect.
We're going to have to introduce you.
Wait a second. Your name's Joe Fan, and you cover sports for a living? Are you kidding me?
Like, at least his first name, like, he could have been Chris Fan. He could have been Chad Fan, but, like, Joe Fan? Like, Joe is, like, the most generic,
There used to be a tight end. I think at one time there was a tight end that played for the Phoenix Cardinals that was named Chad Fan.
Chad Fan? Okay.
I think there was. Let's see if my memory serves me correct. Like back in the 90s, maybe. Chad Fan. And the only reason I remember that is because, he was. Football tight end who played in the National Football League.
Okay, that's funny for the 49ers, too.
Chad Fan is slang for super fan.
Super fan.
So he went to Ole Miss and Florida A&M. He was undrafted in 93. He played with the Cardinals, the Niners, and the Vikings. See, my memory serves correct once in a while.
Sports names are wonderful. I'm a college football degenerate, right? I will watch it. And you told me the other day one thing you love about me is I have 2 teams that I will root for, like you, because you like Arizona State and all that, right? Like I love Oregon, and then because of my family ties, I love the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, right? Now, not a lot of success with the Rainbow Warriors, but I'm up at midnight, watching that game on Saturday.
Dude, I watched the whole game.
Oh, yeah, so did I.
And it was on YouTube stream, and then right at the end of the game on that final drive, the stream went out. And so we were getting audio only, and I was loving it because I was watching the chat, and people were freaking out.
Hey, what you got to do, cheat code, is download the Mountain West app, and then you get all the games on the app right there. Full pregame and everything.
Darn.
That's where you need
I
to
didn't
do.
even think about that.
But I was watching the game. The point is I was watching the game. Mike Alejado throws a pick to Kavion Thunderbird.
That guy is built like a boulder.
Dude, a linebacker whose last name's Thunderbird? I don't care what his measurements are. I don't care what he looks like at the combine. I want him on my team. I want Thunderbird getting sacks.
But I was watching it in honor of you, and so it was a great game, and Hawaii put themselves in a position to possibly force overtime because they're down by 8. So on that final drive by Hawaii, we lose the video, and all I get is audio. So they scored the touchdown to cut it to 2, and then they missed the 2-point conversion. I didn't get a chance to see what the 2-point conversion looked like until the next day when I was able to pull up the highlights, and so now I know what that visual looks like. But that ball should have been caught.
Should have been caught.
Drop ball.
It should have been caught. That was a way better throw than it looked like in real time. On the replay, yeah, should have been caught.
I want to go to that stadium, too. I've been to the old Pro Bowl stadium in Honolulu, but I would like to go to that new spot. It's a smaller stadium, but it looks kind of quaint.
That's all right. They just passed all that stuff. They're starting to tear down, going to start tearing down Aloha Stadium, building their new one, man. I'm excited.
That's awesome. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive, you can jump on board. Follow us on YouTube, youtube.com. Pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620. On the app, of course, iHeartRadio app. It's our free iHeart show and listen live right there. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Podcast is show and listen live right there. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. my mind. You know, you and I are down. So Michael Shacker is back here in the studio, and you and I are down there. So Michael Shacker is back here in the studio, and you and I are down there in person waiting for the event, and then Dame finally gets up there, and we got this hot mic, like as hot as you can possibly be around a bunch of strangers in downtown Portland. That's a dangerous business to live right there. And sure enough, some, shall we say, bum? Hate to say it, but I think he was. He started talking about the Cowboys, and then he dropped a couple of four-letter explicits that easily went over the mic. And I can hear Shacker saying, hey, tell the Cowboy fan to shut up. Get him away from the mic. Get the guy away from the mic. So I walked around, and I'm like, I didn't want to cause a scene. You know, I got Dame up there talking to like, I don't need this guy dropping more Cowboy F-bombs. And he turned, and I could smell like the smell of like booze was powerful. And I just explained to him, like, sir, that's a hot mic. So just watch the certain word choice. I don't think he understood a word I said, but luckily no more bombs went out over. But that was dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Shacker was livid,
which is
as
funny.
He should have been.
Oh, it was funny because on the YouTube stream, anything coming through the headphone you can hear. So you can hear when Shacker talks in our ear.
Sorry.
And you just see
Oh, you can?
Yeah. At that point in time, and I didn't
stream.
catch it as we're going. I watch him back. You just hear him go, "Get him away from the mic! Get him away from the mic!" I just started laughing. It was good. It was good, but also, I mean, you might be a bum if you're spending your Sunday talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Let's just be honest. I mean,
Cowboy fans, look, all fan bases are crazy, but Cowboy fans they're up there at the top in terms of most obnoxious. They're crazy. Cowboy fans have been like that for a long time. And I don't know why, because for the last 30 years, they ain't done nothing.
They're America's team, though, right? Someone said that one time in like 1994, and it stuck. And no one.
Oh, my gosh. And I love Jerry. Did you hear him talk about glory hole?
No, I did not.
We got the definition. He came out and gave the true definition of glory hole. I may have to get to that for you.
Okay, we're going to have to hear this. It's
pretty good. I love Jerry. But, yeah, that was a great time. I was impressed with the whole setup and operation by the Blazers. I did not expect Dame to go up there and talk on stage for about 20 minutes, and he did. And then, I mean, we couldn't see over the mass of people.
Mm-hmm.
Half the team was there.
Yeah.
Including young Hansen.
Yeah, it was great. I love the photos that they posted on social, too, Chad, because, like, you and I were off in the corner, and we were, field level, as it were, right? And so we had an idea of the mass of humanity, but some of those pictures that they took, like, I'm like, wow, there was more people here than even I thought. Like, there was so many people that showed up. And I was right. The drone was definitely for the Blazers creative team, as the social media post shows.
Oh, my goodness. It was so good. But I thought Dame, he went up there, and he was just himself. He communicated the way he has ever since we've known him. I'm happy to be back. I thought the most interesting part, and you mentioned this on Sunday, was when he said, of course, I'm happy to be back with my family and be close to my kids, and I can be a dad every day. But make no mistake about it, I like the roster. We have depth. We have versatility. We got guys who can play. Like, he made sure to point that out. So he clearly saw something with the group of guys that are here that I think intrigued his basketball mind too.
Yeah, I think the move to Portland was important for him on a personal level, but on a professional level, it made sense as well. Like, Dame has never been the type to just talk, right? There's a reason why he says things, and he believes what he says. And so when he goes out there and he likes the way the roster's set up, and he thinks that things can play out. Like, think about the quote was I haven't got a chance to play with this guy. I haven't got a chance to play with this guy. And did you hear the fans' reaction, Chad, when he said, I got a chance to play with rookie Shea, but I want a chance to play with this version of Shea? Like, what do you see in? What do you see that makes you say this version that you like so much, right? You could hear the fans go, ooh, like he honestly likes the roster and likes where they're going. And again, the other part that I really liked was when he mentioned Scoot, because that's the big hang up, right? Well, you got a guy who you want to be the future of the franchise. And even he was like, I get a chance to teach him things and play with this guy who I think can be a superstar in this league. Like, Dame's head's in the right spot, and that's massive.
All right, Chris Burkhardt, Chad Doing with you. So give me a final prediction. Well, what do you think the score is going to be on Saturday? Oregon State, Penn State, or Oregon, Penn State?
Gosh, I think it's going to be something weird like 27-24. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I think you're going to see a lot of long drives, milking that clock a little bit. Something Dan Lanning's been getting good at this year. And who weathers the storm? Because it's going to be an intense one.
But you do like Oregon to win.
I do like Oregon to win.
And I don't think you're just saying that because you're a Duck grad. I think you really believe that they got the material to go in there and get the victory.
I really do believe they have the material to get it done. I like what I've seen from them defensively, even though they've been running pretty much a base defense all year long. Offensively, they've been good. They have the players. They have the talent. This is not, they're going to go in and win every single game. I'll tell you, if I think a team's going to go lose the game, I will tell you that. I definitely think they're going to win this one.
All right, let's set this up before you go. I'll give you a little tasty treat. This is years ago with Jerry Jones first discussing how he wants him some glory hole.
I think that's a part of leadership, is to have some of the guys that have gone before that have been disappointed to share it with everybody involved. For me, it's a reminder. I, too, have been here 23 years. And it is a reminder. I've been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. And so having said that, I want me some glory hole. So I have that perspective.
He's looking around like wanting the approval of the press there.
That's a good one.
I just think it's great. That's Jerry Jones. Now, he came out, this is on one of his usual setups, right, where he's getting a chance to, talk to the group down there in Dallas on the radio show, the radio hits that he does every week, Burkhart.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came out, and somehow they stumbled on the glory hole, and he gave a full breakdown on what it is. And I did not know until he gave the definition.
Well, he knows it's an oil field term. Comes from out when you're in the business of drilling wells. And it's when you've basically made a big well, and mentally or physically picture just drilling a well and all of a sudden having all the oil start coming out at once, going in the air, and that's when you've known you've hit a glory hole.
Jerry,
I'm not going the other place, guys.
And on the other place.
And then, of course, Shacker's in my ears like, do those things actually exist? I'm like, yes, people drill oil wells all the time, buddy.
Yeah, obviously. That's how he made his millions.
Dude, that hour's already passed by, and now you got to go. You have to cheer?
That's right. I got to get into dad mode, take these kids to cheer practice. Everybody do the Mustang Rumble.
All right, buddy, I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you.
All right, Chris Burkhart, we'll keep things rolling. Alex Brink, former Coug, and now with E4 Sports, going to join us coming up at 5:20. All right, 4 o'clock, Chad here. The Mariners continue their push for the AL West crown. They're going to host the Rockies tonight. First pitch from T-Mobile Park is going to be at 6:40. Bryce Miller is on the bump for Seattle. The final 6 games for the Mariners, all at home, starting with 3 against the Rockies and 3 against the Dodgers. And they've got a 3-game edge on the Rastos in the division. Crazy news in college football from the state of Oklahoma. The Cowboys have parted ways with head coach Mike Gundy, ending his 21-year run. Doug Meacham will take over as interim for the rest of the year. And awful news for the Oklahoma Sooners. Former Coug, 6 straight ranked SEC opponents coming up on their schedule have 6 straight ranked SEC opponents coming up on their schedule in the near future. Also, from baseball, we're going to see in 2026 robot umps for challenges. All right, Alex Brink, former Coug, and now with E4 Sports, our college football and NFL insider is going to join us coming up tomorrow, or excuse me, not tomorrow, but coming up at 5:20. So Alex Brink at 5:20, and then coming up on the show tomorrow, multiple great things that I want to share with you, getting ready for another awesome football weekend. Dave Softy Mahler, Softy from KJR in Seattle, is going to join me tomorrow. We'll get his take on the Mariners' push for the AL West crown. Also, the big game coming up at Husky Stadium with the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Washington Huskies. Softy tomorrow. We're also going to talk with Brett Ciancia from Pick 6 Previews to see what his model comes up with in regards to a winner for Oregon and Penn State. And at 5:20, Tyson Alger and Justin Myers. A little I-5 corridor takeover the show tomorrow at 5:20. To preview Oregon and Penn State. We're also going to talk to PJ Dave this week to get a preview of the Ryder Cup. It's very simple for me when it comes to the Ryder Cup. I can't stand the Euros. They drive me crazy, and I want the Americans to kick their ass. And I'm not a fan of Rory. I mean, the guy to me is kind of a fake. He doesn't want to answer questions when things don't go well. And athletes like that, especially golfers, drive me insane. Hey, when I win the tournaments, I put on a green jacket and I'm making a bunch of money. I want all the accolades, all the cameras, and I'll answer any question you have. But when things go sideways and I have a triple bogey and I don't have the green jacket and I lose a tournament, I don't want to talk to anybody. It's like, no, you can't have it both ways. When you make the decision to become a pro and make many millions of dollars, you have to be willing to answer the questions even when things aren't going well. Sorry, Rory, but please close your pie hole. So I love the Ryder Cup. I love the competition, and I want the Americans to dominate. So that's what I'm hoping for. Now, again, they probably won't. They'll find some annoying way to get beat by the Euros again, and it will suck. But I hope that's not the case. So PJ Dave's going to join us, and also Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, will join me in the first hour coming up on Thursday to preview the upcoming weekend. Now, I think this weekend in college football, I don't know what name you want to put on it. Maybe call it Separation Saturday or Defining Saturday. But what's going to happen this weekend is we're going to start to get a real good feel about where all of these big brands stand because we have so many big games. And so we're going to find out a lot about a number of different schools coming up on Saturday with these big matchups. And that's what I love about it. And it starts on Friday night with 2 games. Florida State has been wildly impressive. They dominated Alabama. They're 3-0, and their offense looks great. The question is, are they for real? Well, this is going to be a tough game. On the road at Virginia on a Friday night as a touchdown favorite. If they can get out of this game unscathed, they're going to put themselves in a beautiful position. I thought Clemson was the best team in the ACC. They're not. Not even close. It's Florida State and Miami. So a big game for Florida State to say, hey, that win over Alabama wasn't a fluke. We're going to be here all year. Also, Friday night at 6 on Fox. Big 12 battle between two teams that were in the mix before the year began as potential candidates to win the conference. Number 24, TCU taking on 3-1 Arizona State. This should be an exciting, compelling football game. The Devils under Kenny Dillingham have been basically untouchable at home over the last couple of years. They're a small favorite, and TCU's been impressive with quarterback Josh Hoover. I also love both coaches in this game, great offensive minds in Kenny Dillingham and Sonny Dykes. That is a great football game and a perfect way to kick off the college football weekend. Now, on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on Fox, number 21 USC is at number 23 Illinois. Now, going into the year, Illinois was one of the dark horse teams in the Big Ten. They had the majority of their starters returning from a team that won 10 games last year. But they're coming off a beatdown, and I mean a beatdown. They got blown out by Indiana last weekend. And now they show up as a 7-point dog in Champaign. And number 21, USC, comes rolling into town. I think the Trojans have been one of the big surprises of the college football season thus far. They're 4-0, and their offense looks sensational. They're one of the best rushing teams in the country. They're averaging basically 7 yards a carry. And Jordan Mayava has been lights out. The big difference that I see with the Trojans this year is that they're running the football. They're back to playing Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma ball, meaning we're going to run the football and establish that first, and then everything else in the offense will come off of that with our use of play action. And Mayava has been great. But this is a game where it's dangerous. You've got a West Coast team that has to travel across the country to play a 9 o'clock kick. It smells like an upset. You have a team coming off a blowout loss at home as a 7-point dog. We'll find out if USC is truly for real and a contender in the conference. And we're going to find out a lot about Illinois. Can they bounce back after getting throttled by the Hoosiers? But upset alert, look out, 9 o'clock Fox, USC and Illinois. Notre Dame and Arkansas. Notre Dame's at 1-2. They have a couple of tough losses to A&M and at Miami. They have a chance to even up their record and really continue to push forward on their schedule. Arkansas has a couple of tough losses. If they lose this game at home to Notre Dame, the fan base is going to grow restless. But we'll find out a lot more about Notre Dame. Are they going to bounce back and right the ship, or are they in trouble? After that, 12:30, number 1 Ohio State at Washington. Washington has looked very impressive thus far. Ohio State's ranked number 1 in the country, but they haven't played anybody. Both teams sit at 3-0. And if you go back to the opening weekend where Ohio State beat Texas, at the time it looked like a great win. But now we look at the game and we're like, well, Arch hasn't done much of anything. Texas' offense is awful. So they haven't really been tested. And now they got to go on the road and play a very good team in Washington. I've got a lot of respect for Jed Fish. So is Ohio State the unquestioned number 1 team? How do they handle the atmosphere with the young quarterback? And how good are the Huskies? I know they're good, and just how good. But I'm a big believer in Jed Fish. And then at 12:30 on ABC, number 4 LSU at number 13 Ole Miss. Both teams sit at 4-0. Now, the weird part about this game for me is that Ole Miss, small favorite at home. How are they going to deal with that defense of LSU? The Tigers' defense has been top-notch to start the year. My problem with LSU is that their offense has been kind of hit or miss. So my thought is here, a great opportunity for Ole Miss to get the win and move on. So we're going to find out if LSU truly is a top 5 team. Can they do enough on offense? And what about Ole Miss? After that, Indiana, 4-0, ranked 11, coming off the big win over Illinois. Now they got to travel to Iowa. And they're a big favorite, 7.5 against a great defensive team. And the Hawkeyes are coming off that big win over Rutgers on the road last Friday. Is Indiana, like last year, for real? This is a tough spot for them after the blowout win over Illinois, having to travel and take on one of the better defensive teams in the country. And Iowa's game plan is pretty simple. We're going to run the football. We're going to be as boring as you can imagine, and we're going to try and dominate the time of possession and not give you many opportunities to score. Number 15, Tennessee, is at Mississippi State. For the Bulldogs, picked by many to be near the bottom of the conference, they're a surprise 4-0. They get a chance to host a top 15 team. We're going to find out if Mississippi State is for real. 2 teams at 4 on ESPN. Arizona surprised 3-0 in the Big 12, taking on number 14, Iowa State. Everyone thought the Cyclones would be in contention, but not the Wildcats. So we'll find out if Arizona's for real or not. And then Oregon and Penn State. I don't doubt either team. I think Penn State and Oregon are both legitimate contenders. This game's just about who's going to have the inside track in the Big Ten title game. It's basically whoever wins this game has the right to play Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. That's really what it's about. And I like Oregon. Alabama, ranked 17, at number 5, Georgia, 4:30 on ABC. Now, the weird part, these teams have met frequently, but the last time Bama had to travel to Athens was back in like 2015. I just don't see how Kalen DeBoer finds a way to scratch out a win here. And that's because Kirby Smart doesn't lose at home. He doesn't. He's basically unbeatable at home. I thought that was a great road win at Tennessee. Their defense is tough, and they always seem to get the line of scrimmage play they need in big games. We saw it last year at Texas. We saw it at Tennessee this year. I think it's going to be another tough loss for Bama. And once again, the Bama fans will start to grumble about their head coach who has a massive buyout. And there you have it. Multiple games from morning until night. And after this weekend, we'll have much better definition on the teams at the top, who's for real, who's not, who's contending in each conference, and we'll figure out some of the pretenders. But we live for this kind of stuff. It's a great weekend. The slate is awesome. And that's just college football. There are some phenomenal football games in the NFL this weekend. Like great games. I thought that game last night was awesome. How about Detroit going into Baltimore and getting the win? And now the Ravens sit at 1-2, and they're going to play at Kansas City this weekend, who's 1-2. Meaning either the Chiefs or the Ravens, one of those two teams is going to be 1-3 after 4 games. How crazy is that? With those two teams believed by many to be right there in a position to challenge for the Super Bowl. All right, Alex Spring's coming up at 5:20. I'm Chad Doing. I appreciate your time. Check out the YouTube page. Go to youtube.com and pull up the VR frame and pull up any of the old shows. And you can listen live and podcast via our free and pull up any of the old shows. And you can listen live and podcast via our free iHeartRadio app. Alex Brink at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Well, it's amazing when you look back at the long run by Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. A program record 170 wins, a Big 12 championship in 2011, and 8 10-win seasons, transforming the Cowboy program into a powerhouse and the best era of sustained success in school history. He also led the team to a record 18 consecutive winning seasons and 5 New Year's Six Bowl appearances, earning him multiple conference and National Coach of the Year honors. That's pretty sweet. He received 3 Big 12 Coach of the Year awards in 2010, 2021, and 2023. Named National Coach of the Year in 2011, winning the Paul Bear Bryant Award and the Eddie Robinson Award. It's pretty sweet. He did a great job. He also is the man behind one of the greatest press conferences in the history of college football. And I think it's only appropriate that we honor Coach Gundy the right way. This is the I'm a man, I'm 40 presser. I don't know what my favorite part is. It's probably fat, but I'm a man, I'm 40 is amazing. When he says garbage twice, it's pretty amazing. It's just special. But let's just celebrate Mike Gundy for a moment. Take a listen to this. You tell me what your favorite part is. It's pure gold. Hard to imagine that this was 18 years ago.
If anybody hasn't read this article, I don't read it. This was brought to me by a mother of children. I think this is worth reading. Let me tell you why I want to talk about this article. 3/4 of this is inaccurate. It's fiction. And this article embarrasses me to be involved with athletics tremendously. And that article had to have been written by a person that doesn't have a child and has never had a child that's had their heart broken and come home upset and had to deal with the child when he is upset and kick a person when he's down. Here's all that kid did. He goes to class. He's respectful to the media. He's respectful to the public. And he's a good kid. And he's not a professional athlete. And he doesn't deserve to be kicked when he's down. If you have a child someday, you'll understand how it feels. But you obviously don't have a child. I do. If your child goes down the street and somebody makes fun of him because he dropped a pass in a pickup game, or says he's fat, and he comes home crying to his mom, you'd understand. But you haven't had that. But someday you will. And when your child comes home, you'll understand. If you want to go after an athlete, one of my athletes, you go after one that doesn't do the right things. You don't downgrade him because he does everything right and may not play as well on Saturday. And you let us make that decision. That's why I don't read the newspaper. Because it's garbage. And the editor that let it come out is garbage. Attacking an amateur athlete for doing everything right. And then you want to write articles about guys that don't do things right and downgrade them, the ones that do make plays. Are you kidding me? Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me or our coaches. Don't write about a kid that does everything right, that's heart's broken, and then say that the coaches said he was scared. That ain't true. And then to say that we made that decision because Donovan Woods, because he threatened to transfer, that's not true. So get your facts straight. And I hope someday you have a child and somebody downgrades them and belittles them, and you have to look them in the eye and say, you know what? It's okay. They're supposed to be mature adults, but they're really not. Who's the kid here? Who's the kid here? Are you kidding me? That's all I got to say. Makes me want to puke.
I've watched that a few times today in celebration of Coach Gundy. Are you kidding me? Oh, it's so good. I love coaches melting down. Like, I really love it. And so many of them do it, too. They just lose their mind. They lose their flipping mind. They just can't understand why people ask certain questions, why people do certain things. My personal favorite is Mike Ditka. What do you care?
What do you want to know? Come on. Or I'm going to go in now, so if you don't... What? Doesn't matter which one run. There'll be a quarterback that'll be named next week that'll be the starter. There's 3 quarterbacks on this football team. Whichever one starts. Whichever ones don't, will back him up. Period. Cut and dried. It's nobody's concern but ours. Nobody's. Next.
Injuries from the game?
Talk to the trainer.
Next.
Mike, why are you in such a bad mood?
What do you care?
Right.
Okay. If you were 2-7, you'd be in a bad mood, too. What next?
Mike, is this more like a training camp type practice as opposed to a regular season?
Yes. Next. Not very much fun, is it? No?
Not at all.
All right. I'll see you guys.
All right. See you later, Coach. That's my personal favorite. His response to, hey, Coach, why in such a bad mood? What do you care? It's one of the all-time lines. Anytime someone asks you a question that you think is just unnecessary, like, just say, what do you care? Chad, that's all you're going to eat? What do you care? Love that. Oh, the Mike Gundy stuff is great. I could play Jim Mora. Like, when I get stuck in YouTube mode, sometimes I'll just come across the coaches and watch the coach meltdowns because they are priceless. Jim Mora, pound for pound, is one of the best, though. You think you know, but you don't.
You guys really don't know when it's good or bad, when it comes right down to it.
Will you make a promise to us? Will you tell us when it's good?
And I'm promising you right now that you don't know when it's good or bad. You really don't know. Because you don't know what we're trying to do. You guys don't look at the films. You don't know what happened. You really don't know. You think you know, but you don't know. And you never will. Okay? Just for your own information. Sometimes it won't. I can tell you it won't be good, and you'll see it won't be good. Sometimes you'll think it's good, and it isn't any good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was pretty darn good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was bad. But basically, you really don't know. The only people that really know are our coaches. And that goes with run blocking, pass defense, all those things. The media, public doesn't know. You guys don't know. Not really know.
Yeah, there you go. Mike Gundy. They just need to take that whole clip and send it to the Smithsonian or the Hall of Fame or wherever it needs to go. I don't know. You tell me. But it's so good. Herm Edwards, you play. You play to win the game. That's a good one, too. You play, anytime you put something into YouTube, and you just put in Herm, and play to win the game automatically pops up. Like, that's how good it is.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
It matters. I agree, Coach. It matters. Because you play to win the game. Oh, that's so good. And like his wife or his family, like when they see that stuff go down, like they've got to be laughing their butts off. It's so good. The Dennis Green one's classic too.
4 picks against Grossman and 2 fumbles. What do you see about the Bears? We shut them down that way?
No, we just the Bears are what we thought they were. What we thought they were. We played them in preseason. Who the hell takes a third game in the preseason like it's bull? We played them in the third game. Everybody played 3 quarters. The Bears are who we thought they were. And that's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. After a meltdown. Thanks, Coach.
I'll start off by saying this. Do not blame that game on the defense, okay? I don't care who you play, whether it's a high school team, a junior college team, a college team, much less an NFL team. When you turn the ball over 5 times, 4 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 3 others in field position to set up touchdowns, you ain't going to beat anybody I just talked about. Anybody. All right? And that was a disgraceful performance, in my opinion. We threw that game. We gave it away by doing that. We gave them the friggin' game. In my opinion, that sucked. We've thrown 4 interceptions for touchdowns this year. That might be an NFL record. That's pitiful. I mean, it's absolutely pitiful to perform like that. Pitiful. What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Oh, it's so good. Everything about that is terrific. Jim Mora is a beauty. Lo Neal played for him, said he was great. I love him. And now we got another request coming in. Is this edited, Shacker? Okay. Well, Hal McRae went nuclear back in '93 with the Royals. I think it's worth playing.
Consider Brett for Miller with the bases loaded in the 7th.
No, don't ask me all these stupid ass questions. No.
In the all these stupid ass questions every night. Find what I hit Brett for Miller. Miller started the game. He's playing against left-handed pitchers. Brett is not playing against left-handed pitchers. Find what I bat for Miller. You think I'm a damn fool? I'm tired of all these dumb-ass questions every night. Stay out here and ask all these dumb-ass questions. Stupid. Ask me that stupid-ass every mother night. You guys are not taking no off the players. I'm sick and tired. I'm fed up with everything. No from you guys, no from you players. And they can do any mother thing they want to do. I'm sick and tired of all this bullshit. Now, put that in your pipe and smoke. That's what I...
That's too good. He reminds me of Inspector Todd from Beverly Hills Cop 2. We need more of this in our life. I need meltdowns. I want coaches melting down. I want more Mike Parker meltdowns. I basically want people going nuclear. That's all I care about. But those coaches, I understand it, man. There just comes a point where, like, I've had enough. You guys are asking me questions. My team can't play. My players are dumb, whatever the case may be. You're writing bad articles about my players. Oh, my goodness. It's so good. All right, there you have it. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And Tommy Lasorda's got multiple ones that I'd love to play, but the problem is there's no beep system in the world that can keep up with Tommy Lasorda. I'll never forget when I sat at the table with him one night. Now, this was at a baseball function for Hank Jones, Dodger scout, probably about, 25 years ago. It was down at the Red Lion Jansen Beach. And I was like the MC for the event. Harold Reynolds was the keynote speaker. They were raising money for youth baseball. And Mr. Lasorda was there. And after the event, we got to sit down and have dinner. Me and my boy Steve were there. And Tommy Lasorda was sitting there holding court. Hank was quiet, as was Harold Reynolds. Nobody else at the table was talking because Tommy Lasorda was busy talking, and I've never seen anything like it. He was talking about Steve Sachs not able to make the throw to first. There's like a piece of a pork chop hanging from his pie hole, and he's like eating food and just talk. It was amazing. And he's intimidating. There are certain coaches where when you come across, they have a presence. Like, who's that guy? I was covering some Adidas All-Star camp out in Sewanee, Georgia. It was like circa 2006 or something like that. And because it was an all-star camp, there were a lot of big-time college basketball coaches bumping around, doing their recruiting. Coach K was there, Mark Few, like all the big guys, Bob Huggins. You name a big-time college coach, they were there. This was the group with Eric Gordon and Michael Beasley and Luke Babbitt. Anyways, Tom Izzo walked into the gym. He was one of the later arriving coaches. This guy's not very tall, but his presence and his stare and just the way he carried himself, like you had the utmost respect. I felt the same way when I met Lou Holtz at the downtown Hilton. Short guy, but commanded respect. I was like, okay, I respect you and I fear you. And there are certain coaches, like I never want to run into Bob Knight in a dark alley. Jerry Sloan, you could add to that list. Phil Jackson's intimidating. Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich almost made me faint once near the visiting locker room at Moda Center. I asked him a legit question. He looked at me, paused. He gave me like the death stare, like that pop stare, like he wants to strangle somebody. Why would you ask me that? And I'm like, He's like, I'm just joking. And then he smiled. Like, hey, coach, you're going to give me a heart attack. You can't do that to me. So anyways, there you go. Mike Gundy, 21-year run at Oklahoma State is over. And it's big news in the Doing family because my Uncle Truman, he's a massive Oklahoma State fan and booster. He spent many of hours at Boone Pickens Stadium hanging out in the box with Barry. He was hitting me up today on which coaches he would like to see step in. So anyways, there you go. And again, I didn't grow up a Cowboy fan. My dad, I was a Sooner fan. I love Barry Switzer. I just wanted to go to Oklahoma games, and my dad's like, hey, you want to go to the Cowboy game? Dad, no, I don't want to go watch your crappy team play. I want to go to a Sooner game. Take me to Norman. He wouldn't do it. I feel that there's a couple of things about my childhood where I feel like my parents really, and then I got screwed out of going to the Fat Lever Calvin Knapp basketball camp. And then I got screwed out of going to the Fat Lever Calvin Knapp basketball camp because we moved out to the Northwest like right before the camp was supposed to start. And they would not wait to move until I could go to the camp. And I'm still mad about that. All right, Alex Brink talking ball coming up at 5:20. You can reach out and talk to me at 503-248-0620. Dave Softy Mahler coming up tomorrow. We'll get his take on Ohio State, Washington, and the M's push for the AL West crown. I-5 corridor takeover with Tyson Alger and Justin Myers at 5:20 tomorrow. And we're going to preview here in the next couple of days the Ryder Cup with PGA Dave. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, from the 360, gold. Gold. Really, dude? Did you just wish for someone's kid to be bullied? It's insane. Yeah, it's a great. I mean, everything about that whole 3 minutes is pure gold from Gundy. And the way he yelled, garbage! Garbage! I mean, that's a head coach just going ballistic. I love it. It's pure comedy. And that's the pressure you get in big-time sports. You know, sometimes they got to let that stuff out or they'll go crazy. One thing I do like, according to a report from Jeff Passan of ESPN, Major League Baseball is going to implement a challenge system for balls and strikes in 2026 after the league's competition committee voted Tuesday to usher in robot umpiring. He went on to say the following years of testing in the minor leagues, as well as during spring training and at this year's All-Star game, Major League Baseball forged ahead with a system that will give teams 2 challenges per game. Hitters, pitchers, and catchers will be the only ones allowed to trigger the system by tapping their head. And if a challenge is successful, the pitch will be shown on in-stadium video boards. Teams will retain it. While the vote in favor of the automated ball strike challenge system was not unanimous, some of the 4 players on the 11-man committee voted no. According to sources, the vote was a fait accompli with MLB owners all in favor and in possession of a 6-seat majority on the committee. The ABS system uses similar technology to the line calling system in tennis with 12 cameras in each ballpark tracking the ball with a margin of error around 1/6 of an inch. Well, that's a lot better than having the humans call balls and strikes, I can tell you that much. The ABS zone will be a 2-dimensional plane in the middle of the plate that spans its full width, 17 inches. The zone's top will be 53.5% of a player's height and the bottom 27%. Teams that run out of challenges over the first 9 innings will be granted an extra challenge in the 10th inning, while those that still have unused challenges will simply carry them into extras. If a team's run out of challenges in the 10th, it will automatically receive another in the 11th, a rule that extends for any extra inning. Well, this is a no-brainer, all right? We've seen over the course of time, just watch any baseball game. The umps miss balls and strikes on a regular basis. And my thought in sports, it's very simple. If you have technology, which we do, how can you not utilize the best of the best to be able to make sure you get calls right? Especially when you look at Major League Baseball or NBA or NFL games where these leagues are bringing in billions of dollars. And there's big money in winning. There's big money on the line. People's legacies are on the line. And now people are gambling all the time. So there's a lot of money involved in every single game, and that's why you got to make sure you get it right. Period. And the umps have been terrible. It's probably not quite as bad as everyone thinks it is, but it's bad. And so now they're going to use technology to get it right. I would have more challenges. I hate that you only have 2 per 9. That's not enough. So why should you have to pick and choose where you use your 2 challenges? Because the umps are going to miss a lot more than 2, I can tell you that much. I guess you'll have to come up with a system where you just save it for high leverage situations. Where if it's egregious, you got a chance to get some runs across the plate, then boom, utilize it. But we'll see how it plays out. I think it's going to be pretty smooth. I mean, tennis has been doing it for years now, and it works seamlessly. And I got to be honest with you, when I watch a tennis match, I have no idea how the ump or the line judge can ever tell what's in and what's out because those balls, I mean, they're moving too fast. Too fast for my eyes. So I'm glad that baseball is doing this. It's a very good thing. The other thing that's impressive to me is what about the Mariners sitting there with a 3-game lead, and it looks like they're going to win the AL West? I got to give them major props. There were multiple times this year where it looked like the bottom was going to fall out, and yet they found a way to come back and bounce back and thrive. I credit the franchise, the front office for making the moves at the deadline that were necessary to give this team the ammunition to compete. And now, because of the maneuvers they made, they're good enough to compete for a World Series championship. They can win a title. That's how good they are. there's not anyone they could run into in the American League that they can't beat. They've got the pitching. Their defense is good enough. Now they just got to worry about the timely hitting. And those are the three elements. If you want to know what it takes to win a championship, pitching, defense, timely hitting. Those are the three formulas. That's what the Giants did. Bruce Bochy talked about it all the time when I was down there. You got those three things, you're going to be fine. The Mariners are good. And they're not going to blow it in this final week. They get 3 games against the Rockies. The Rockies are a grease fire. Awful franchise. Horrible baseball team. And then you get 3 against the Dodgers. So just handle your business against the Rockies, and you'll be fine. But that 3-game sweep in Houston was awesome. I did not expect them to get the clean sweep, and they did. You couldn't have asked for more as a Mariners fan. They went in and swept the Astros, and now they're in full command of the division. It's pretty awesome. And the playoffs are going to be great, and T-Mobile Park will be off the chain. So I'm pumped. This is a great time of the year. We got college football in full swing. The NFL season's in full swing, and playoff baseball is right around the corner. And baseball is one of those sports where, similar to the NBA, where during the regular season, you get the occasional game that's nice, but then all of a sudden the playoffs hit, and it's a totally different game. The intensity, every pitch, every hit, everything matters. Just like the NBA. Regular season's one game, the playoffs are totally different level. And I just love everything about it. So I'm pumped. You should be pumped. Everyone should be excited. But the Mariners are in a prime position. I can't believe I'm saying it, but they are. They're good enough to win a championship because the franchise didn't sit on their hands. They didn't twiddle their thumbs. They went on and got busy. And I credit Cal Raleigh. Based on the people I've talked to, he's probably not going to win the MVP. It's going to be Aaron Judge, but Cal Raleigh has been at an MVP level all year. And it's also his willingness to speak up, speak out, and let his thoughts be known, and applying a little bit of pressure on the front office. And now they got the tools to go out there and make things happen. All right, Alex Brink is going to join us coming up at 5. Why Coach Rogers had to apologize when all he did was state the truth. Why Coach Rogers had to apologize when all he did was state the truth. We'll ask Brink about that. We'll also get his take on what Brian Daboll needs to do to make sure that Jackson Dart gets off to a good start with the Giants in his first start. They've made the move. Jackson Dart will start the next game for the Giants. Russell Wilson will now back him up. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Alex Spring, former Coug, now with E4 Sports, going to join me coming up at 5:20 to preview Oregon and Penn State, which will be on Saturday at 4:30. The Mariners, 3 games up in the West, 6 games to play. They got 3 against the Rockies and then 3 against the Dodgers. All games are at home. Tonight's first pitch at 6:40. Bryce Miller will get the call for Seattle. We got some bad news for the Oklahoma Sooners. Quarterback John Mateer, former Coug, broke his hand. He had surgery. He's going to be out a month. The Sooners have 6 straight SEC opponents coming up on the schedule after they play Kent State. 5 of those 6 are currently ranked. The OSU Cowboys have parted ways with head coach Mike Gundy after 21 seasons. Doug Meacham's going to fill in as interim for the rest of the year. And we got word today that Major League Baseball is going to move to robot umps with challenges in 2026. If I'm not mistaken, I think Shacker's playing a little Patrick Swayze right now. Back in the 80s, there were a number of like movie and television stars that also decided to take up music, and multiple guys had big hits. Don Johnson had one, Patrick Swayze, Eddie Murphy. I can honestly say this is not one of my favorite songs from the 80s, but I like Patrick Swayze.
Bruce Willis.
Is this Bruce Willis?
Yeah. It was the best one of the bunch.
Now, I've heard this song. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Oh, Respect Yourself. This is Bruce Willis. Yeah, pull up Don Johnson. I think the name of that one was Heartbeat. I think Don Johnson is originally from Wichita, Kansas, too, if memory serves correct. Now, this is Don Johnson. This is one of the coolest guys from the 80s with Miami Vice. And he's like, oh, what the heck? I'm going to make a music record. And he did. And had a big hit with Heartbeat. Let's listen to his singing voice. Now, I did like this song, but you got to admit it's kind of cheesy now.
Don Johnson had a good show last year, Dr. Odyssey.
Oh, I haven't watched it yet. Is it good?
It got canceled by ABC. ABC sucks.
Yeah, this is yeah, just one of the many. Who was that other? Bette Midler. Yeah, she did the double dip. I hate that song too. What God is watching us from a distance. Ugh. There you go. All right, great game last night. How about Detroit going into Baltimore and just manhandling the Ravens? I thought their play at the line of scrimmage was fabulous. Dan Campbell has got gigantic balls. Going for it on 4th down, you know, I think he's crazy sometimes, but he's consistently crazy. But, you know, it's nice. A coach with conviction, they know who they are, they have an identity, and they're not afraid to be themselves. But that was a big-time ballsy win. And how about the Ravens now staring at 1-3 in the face as they get ready for a game at Kansas City? But Detroit looks legit. You know, I thought, you know, when the year began that they were going to take a step back because they lost both coordinators. But what a response after that opening week loss to Green Bay. They come back and crush Chicago and then go into Baltimore and just get a tough win and put up 38 points. And Jared Goff, accurate, on time, on target, and they ran the football. And I'll tell you what, I guess what's happened is that I'm so accustomed to the Ravens having a good defense that I always think their defense is going to be tough, but they don't have a tough defense anymore. They got pushed around. They got lit up by Buffalo in week 1. Their secondary can't stop anybody. And last night, Detroit pushed them off the ball, and they ran the football down their throats. Now, Baltimore's going to be fine, but they've got issues right now. Their defense is garbage. They're one of the worst defensive teams in football. Just look at the numbers. But that was an impressive win. Dan Campbell, I love the guy. Crazy, but man, they're tough. That's a tough, tough team. And they just kept responding last night. Every time Lamar Jackson would do something, Detroit had an answer. But in today's game, you almost have to be willing to be aggressive and go for it. Like Sean Payton on Sunday against the Chargers, just shriveling up in the biggest moment. Shrinkage. 4th and inches after that Bo scramble, he punts the football. It's, hey, dumb. They're going to score no matter what. Yeah, punt the ball and gain like 30 yards of field position. They're still going to go down and score, which they did. Go for it. What type of confidence do you have in your offensive group, you moron? As soon as they punted the football, I'm like, well, it's done. Because I knew what was going to happen. You're going to kick it back to Herbert and just let him go down and score and throw that sweet pass to his wide receiver? Sometimes I don't understand. Come on, Sean. Come on, coach. Be better. But so far, I like what I'm seeing. Buffalo has been the dominant team in the AFC East, as expected. My prediction before the year, Buffalo would win the East. Nobody else from the division would make the postseason. And so far, everything I've seen would support that. Buffalo's dominant. They've got some injury concerns, their defense, but they're going to be fine. Josh Allen's playing at an MVP level again. Miami is trash. New England is still working through their new head coach, trying to figure out how to play. And the Jets are the Jets. Now, the AFC North, I thought Baltimore would be the runaway winners with the division. But they could very likely be 1-3 after this weekend when they play at Kansas City. But if you look at the division, Cincinnati's done. They don't have Joe Burrow. Cleveland has a championship defense, but they have no quarterback. And they have to play at Detroit this weekend. Good luck with that, Cleveland. And then Pittsburgh at 2-1. I thought going into the year it would be Baltimore and Cincy who made the postseason. Now it's looking more like Baltimore and maybe Pittsburgh. You can pretty much pencil in 9 to 10 wins a year for Mike Tomlin. No matter what the situation is, he's going to win 9 to 10. That's just what he does. So the Bengals are not making the postseason. We know the Browns won't. It'll be Baltimore and Pittsburgh from the north. I'm most wrong about the AFC South. I said Houston, who's now 0-3, would win the division. But it's Indy, who I thought would be dead last in the division, at 3-0 and playing great football. And they're at the Rams this weekend. So I think you'll get Indianapolis. Houston's probably done. Maybe Jacksonville. But Indianapolis looks like the playoff team from the South until further notice. In the AFC West, the usual suspects. 3 teams, Denver, Kansas City, and the Chargers. Go Chargers. The Chargers are 3-0 and look like the best team in the division. Their defense has been fabulous. They have 3 wins, all in the AFC West, over the Chiefs, Raiders, and Broncos. The Raiders are who we thought they were. They're going to be last place. And Denver, back-to-back losses at the buzzer. Indy and the Chargers, the 2 hottest teams in football. It's okay. They're going to be okay because their schedule is about to open up here in a few weeks. The NFC East, pretty much what I thought. Cowboys and Giants are pretenders. Philly might be the best team in football. They're 3-0. And Washington will make the postseason. In the North, I picked Green Bay to win the division. That looks good. And I thought Detroit would make the postseason, but be second in division. Minnesota, because they have Carson Wentz, pretty good. The Falcons are hit or miss. The Panthers aren't very good, and the Saints are awful. The Falcons are hit or miss. The Panthers aren't very good, and the Saints are awful. And the NFC West is a big jumbled mess. I did pick the Seahawks, and right now they look pretty good. The 49ers are a surprise 3-0, but they lose a key player every week, so it's just a matter of time for them. And a big game on Thursday night. Seattle at Arizona. The Cardinal, that game's basically a pick 'em. Seattle will probably be a favorite by the time kickoff arrives on Thursday. All right, let's preview Oregon and Penn State. Why did Coach Rodgers have to apologize for saying what's true? And what does Brian Daboll need to do to get his quarterback, Jackson Dart, ready for his first start? Alex Brink, former Washington State Cougar with E4 Sports, is coming up next. All right, Rip City Drive. Oh, it's my favorite time of the week because our college football and NFL insider, former Coug from E4 Sports, Alex Brink, is back. And Alex, it's great to talk some ball with you. I'm loving the game so much. I want to start with the Apple Cup. Just your take on what you saw from Washington. I know you're impressed with their offense and their quarterback play right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, Washington's offense is really good. Jed Fish has always been a really good play caller, and typically when he marries, quality quarterback play and a good running back, he's really hard to stop, right? We saw that at Arizona with Noah Fafita and Jonah Coleman, who's now at UW. So Jonah Coleman, really their entire group of backs is good. But to me, it's the quarterback, DeMond Williams, is the straw that stirs that drink. He is probably the fastest football player on the field when he's out there and he's playing quarterback. So you always have to account for him. He's on the smaller side, which is probably the only knock on him, but elite passer. He changed the game in the Apple Cup. I think he has a chance to change the game this weekend against Ohio State.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm very impressed with him, and because of you, I'm going to keep a close eye on him. Real quick on that matchup, it would seem to me that Ohio State, now that win over Texas, maybe not as great as we thought it was in that first week, and they haven't been tested. This might be a dangerous spot for the Buckeyes. What do you think about that matchup?
I think anytime you go on the road, against a good team, you have to bring your best, play your best football. And Ryan Day and that staff, they've done it before. They can get a team ready to go, but I think they're going to be a little surprised, right? When they get into Husky Stadium, that place can rock. Like I said, elite offensive talent for UW with team speed that, can really put pressure on a defense. Again, the question is, can the UW defense hold up against what I think is really high-powered Ohio State offense? I could see this thing being a shootout. The other issue that I could see is that, Ohio State's line offensively and defensively has a chance to make some noise, and that could cause problems for DeMond Williams, from on the defensive side, defensive line, and that's where I think Ohio State really has an advantage.
Yeah, what I'm excited about, we saw it last year with Oregon and Ohio State when they played in the regular season, and now we're going to get this game, Ohio State at Washington. It's nice when the national television gets a chance to put on display some of the atmospheres we have out here in the Northwest. I'm not saying it's the SEC, but Husky Stadium when it's rocking, Autzen Stadium when it's rocking. It's two of the better places in the country.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And look, I'm thinking back to when I was playing, and I know it was a long time ago, but, there are a few places better than the Coliseum when there's 95,000 people down there at USC, right? Obviously Autzen. You talked about Husky Stadium. There's some really cool venues, right, west of the Mississippi, Boulder,
yes,
and all that. And I think it's awesome when they do get to get put on display. And there is a passion in those fan bases, and those teams, again, they've invested in their programs, they've invested in the experience, and I think it shows up on game day.
All right, in your long and illustrious Washington State career, what was the one road trip you made? What stadium, what atmosphere did you think was pretty intense and incredible to play in?
Well, we talk all about the incredible places west of the Mississippi, but probably my favorite place that I got to travel to and probably the toughest environment was my junior year at Auburn. That was a really tough place to play, obviously, SEC country.
Yes.
I was a captain, so I'm standing out there as, War Eagle, flies down and, the whole thing. It's a pretty wild experience, and it does mean just a little bit more down south for sure. So Auburn was a really cool experience.
That's great. I want to take a moment to defend Washington State head coach Jimmy Rogers. He was criticized after the Apple Cup. They lose at 59-24, but he came out and said that Washington State does not have the resources to compete with the $30 million that UW is able to spend on its roster. I don't think there's anything outrageous about that take whatsoever, but he took some criticism, then he came out and walked it back and said, quote, "Nobody brought me in here to make excuses about the things that we don't have. They brought me in here to help create a winning program. I need to do that and keep my mindset on that and not complain about things that in the moment I don't control. I control the attitude of this football team, and we've got to be ready to play our best football." Look, I understand that people don't want coaches to be honest, even though they say they want them to be honest. But I'm telling you, Alex, Washington and Oregon are playing a different brand of football right now than Washington State and Oregon State, and I don't have a problem with the coach pointing it out.
Yeah, I don't think the general public really understands the amount of money that is, moving through college football rosters at kind of the high levels, right? I mean, there's you hear the number $20 or $30 million, but then it's hard to juxtapose that with Washington State, let's say, or Oregon State that maybe has $2 to $4 million going into a roster, and how that makes a difference, right? Like, the numbers are big, and it's not just quarterbacks. Quarterbacks making anywhere from $1 to $3 million if they're a high quality starter, if not a little bit more. You have position players, high quality position players that are going to make over $500,000 in a year. You know what I mean? And so I think there's realities to this, and it's not that Washington State can't compete. And I think that's probably Jimmy Rogers' point in walking it back, because they did compete, right? They were in that game against Washington into the fourth quarter, and ultimately mistakes, were what was undone for them. But it makes it harder. You have to play great football. You have to, be really consistent. And I think Jimmy Rogers hasn't had a chance to build that culture yet. He's got 75 new players on his roster. And so I think the idea that he's not one to make excuses and he wanted to make that clear, I think that's a positive. But I do think fan expectations need to match the reality of what college football is now.
All right, let's talk Oregon, Penn State. It's the big game coming up on Saturday, number 3 against number 6. And it's going to be a 4:30 kick on NBC and Peacock in Happy Valley with a whiteout. I mean, for me, as a fan, I look at this and I say, okay, we know that Penn State may have the best offensive line in college football. Oregon's defensive line has been impressive with their D tackles. My thought would be, Alex, that if you control the run game on first and second down and put Drew Aller in, third and longs, maybe that's how you have success. What do you think about this matchup?
Well, I think you got it right. I think this is all about the trenches, very specifically, that offensive line for Penn State. If they're able to establish the run, with Allen and Singleton, then I think that could be a problem for the Ducks. But again, the Ducks, the front seven, particularly the defensive line and linebackers, have been really stout, and I think that's. Dan Lanning made it a point, right, when he came to Oregon, that he was going to kind of bring the SEC, the Georgia style, the in the trenches, even more so than Mario Cristobal, right? And he's done that. He's got the guys, and this is going to be the place they need to have it show up, because Drew Aller, to me, you can get Drew Aller in some tough situations if he's got to drop back and pass and not able to play action and things like that. And so, they've got to control the line of scrimmage. That is, Oregon's got to control the line of scrimmage.
It's Alex Brink from E4 Sports, our college football and NFL insider, former Washington State quarterback. Okay, Mike Gundy was fired after 21 years with his alma mater, Oklahoma State Cowboys. My dad went to Oklahoma State. I've got a question about Gundy, but first, I think it's only important that we pay proper respect to the coach for one of the greatest press conferences of all time. Take a listen, Alex.
If anybody hasn't read this article, I don't read it. This was brought to me by a mother of children. I think this is worth reading. And let me tell you why I want to talk about this article. 3/4 of this is inaccurate. It's fiction. Here's all that kid did. He goes to class. He's respectful to the media. And he's a good kid. And he's not a professional athlete. And he doesn't deserve to be kicked when he's down. That's why I don't read the newspaper. Because it's garbage. And the editor that let it come out is garbage. Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
It's one of the greatest press conferences in the history of football coaches, Alex. My dad is really upset because he thought that Mike Gundy had earned the right to be able to walk away at the end of the season. What do you think about the Cowboys letting him go at the time that they did?
I mean, I guess that I would say I agree with that, but, obviously the nature of college football, you heard in that press conference where he talked about the athlete not being a professional, right? Well, It's all professional now.
Yes.
And I think that's the problem, for Mike Gundy in this situation. And they, you've seen the thing is, you've seen this in coaching searches recently. Yeah. So much happens with transfer portal and all the things at the end of the year that you have to get ahead of it, right? So they're looking ahead to who's the next guy, the up and coming guy they need to get ahead of. Who do they need to start talking to, right? Maybe it's Will Stein at Oregon, right? They want to know how they've got to get ahead of that. I think that's kind of the important thing. It's interesting when you see guys like Dabo Swinney and Mike Gundy and some of the things happening. You really see the difference in coaches and programs that embrace NIL and the culture, right? I think I saw a stat, something like the top 5 to 7 transfer portal recruiting classes, they're undefeated or maybe have one loss on the season. Teams like Texas Tech, Oregon, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So, I think Mike Gundy was a little slow to pick up some of those things, and in the end, it hurt him.
We're talking with Alex Brink here on the Rip City Drive, getting ready for another weekend of great football. I wanted your thoughts on the Oregon State Beavers against Oregon. All I was hoping for was a tighter operation in the fundamentals. I thought they accomplished that. Would you agree? What did you think about the way they competed against the Ducks?
Yeah, I absolutely thought Oregon State looked better. I thought they responded to some adversity. They came out early and they really battled. Again, similar to Washington State and Washington, you're just outgunned in some key positions, particularly on the line. I mean, Oregon State, a big part of Oregon State's struggles outside of some of the operational things you talked about is that their offensive line has been so good the past 5 to 10 years, and it's just not the same group this year. And some of that's turnover, some of that's transfer. But ultimately, you're seeing them lose on the offensive and defensive lines, where Oregon is winning big on the offensive and defensive lines in general.
Hey, Alex, big game coming up on Friday night down in Tempe. It's TCU and Arizona State, two teams that are one of the favorites to possibly get into the Big 12 title game. This is the first conference game for TCU. Arizona State won at Baylor last weekend. I'm most excited about this game because of the quarterback matchup. Just your thoughts on Josh Hoover and Sam Levitt, two good young signal callers in the college game.
Really explosive offenses, right? And it's going to be fun to see those guys go against each other. I think for Arizona State, they made a statement last week, after the loss to Mississippi State, and I think this is a chance, again, for them to make a big statement on a Friday night. Obviously we've talked about, I've known Sam Levitt a long time. I really like that coaching staff at Arizona State. And they're trying to follow up a historic season last year, and these are the type of games that make that. This is going to be a fun matchup. It's fun as on a Friday, right? That the kind of the whole country gets to see it. Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun. Bama and Georgia. What do you think will be the key going to Athens, where the Bulldogs basically don't lose under Kirby Smart? How does Kalen DeBoer find a way to get a win in such a difficult environment? What's your take on that?
Well, Kalen DeBoer and that staff, I think, are kind of potentially uniquely suited for a game like this. I think they prepare really well. They always have good offensive game plans. Sometimes they can kind of put some wrinkles in that somebody like Kirby Smart and that defensive staff, a defensive-minded head coach and, a quality defense, maybe they're not ready for, right? And they can get you off balance a little bit. And I think that's where Kalen DeBoer and Alabama might have an advantage. Candidly, I don't think they're as good a football team as Georgia. And I think, then if you're playing the Bulldogs at home, those things kind of ultimately lead for the Bulldogs to come out on top. But I certainly could see Alabama pull out some tricks, find a way to stay in it, and be into that game late in the fourth.
All right, I wanted to ask you about USC. They've played terrific football thus far, coming out the win over Michigan State. They're going to be on the road to Illinois. But I wanted your thoughts on what you're seeing from that Lincoln Riley offense without Caleb Williams. They're one of the top rushing teams in the country now, 12th, and they're averaging 7.06 yards per carry with 15 rushing touchdowns. And Jordan Mailata looks really good, but maybe it's just a matter of not having Caleb Williams and maybe where you're trying to force, some of the play calls to showcase his talents. Like he's getting back to what we saw at Oklahoma with that run-pass balance. It's been impressive to me. What do you think about the job he's done thus far?
Yeah, that's right. I actually was going to say that about, kind of looking like the Oklahoma offenses of Lincoln Riley's past, which were really efficient, pretty creative. But, at the same time, the one thing you found, we used to always talk about this, you and I, with Caleb Williams, was he was so elite off schedule, right? Like when things weren't going right or didn't appear to be going right, he made a ton of plays. There's no doubt about that. But he never seemed to play kind of within the rhythm of the offense. And in the end, I think that hurt Caleb Williams and USC, because at times it felt like he was being off schedule just to be off schedule. When you look back at the Lincoln Riley offenses in the past, they're actually really efficient and they have very clear structure to them. And you can run the football and you can play action pass and you have great screen game and you're really creative in RPOs and things like that. And when Caleb Williams would get off schedule, I think he could make some big plays, but it also maybe led to some inconsistencies. And with Mailata and just the run game in general, watching that Michigan State game, it felt like they were just on schedule all the time, ahead of the chains, really consistent, getting defenses off balance, which is the hallmark of Lincoln Riley.
All right, got a couple of NFL questions before I let you go, Alex. First off, we got word today that Jackson Dart is going to make the start for the Giants in their next game. What are some things that you would expect from Brian Daboll to help put his young QB in a position to have success against an offensive line that's had issues in pass blocking?
Well, one, I really like Jackson Dart and his ability to make plays. I think even for a young guy, he can be pretty crafty in the pocket, and he got great arm talent. We saw it when he was at Ole Miss. Just seemed like he just made plays. And I hate to say this because of the way it played out, but he kind of early Russell Wilson, right? When Russell Wilson was young, he just made plays, right? And I think Jackson Dart has some of that ability. He's going to have to protect the football. That's probably, he's got to kind of live on that knife's edge, which can be hard as a young, talented player. For Daboll, it's the quick passing game. Obviously establishing the run goes without saying, but, give him some plays that he can complete, get him outside the pocket a little bit and make it, just make it clean, make the pictures really clean for him because, when it's your first start and it's the NFL, you're going to see a lot. A lot's going to get thrown at you, a lot of pressure. And so he needs to feel confident that he can get the ball out of his hands.
It's funny. I know you, so I see plays go down on Sundays or Saturdays, and I'm like, I wonder what Alex thinks about that. But Justin Herbert, he's playing great football right now, and this caused part of my demise on Sunday. But that scramble throw where he had to adjust his body and make that throw on the move with pressure in his grill to Keenan Allen on the money with the defender draped on him. Like, when I see a play like that, it's one of the best throws I've seen in quite some time. What are your thoughts on the way Herbert is playing right now in that throw right there?
He's playing so good, and he's really coming into his own. He's always had incredible physical tools. Feels like he's really settled in under Jim Harbaugh. Just with, I think the identity of that team has freed him up a little bit to kind of be the player he can be. Right, it's not all on him. They're going to run. They're going to run first. They're going to establish the run. They're going to have all and then he can utilize his arm and his athletic ability to make plays, and I think that has taken, again, some pressure off of him. And then in big moments, he's really stepping up, and I think that's a sign of his maturity. And you talk about that play. I mean, that's what I talk about when I'm training quarterbacks and working with elite athletes, right? That's that multi-sport piece of it. Justin Herbert was an elite baseball player growing up and all the way through high school. Probably, but certainly could have played professionally. His ability to kind of adjust his body on the run, be able to execute that throw, his strength. I mean, that all comes from, his upbringing and the way he's put in work, from a very young age.
All right. That's, do you want to go on the record? Who do you like in the Oregon-Penn State game?
Oregon.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I do.
I do. I mean, I think Oregon was criminally underrated coming into the season, if that's even possible. I think they're one of the top, two or three programs in the country. I think they just reload. I'm a huge Dante Moore fan.
How good of a kid is he, Alex?
I think they're as good.
How good of a kid is Dante?
Oh, he's the best. He's the best. I mean, this is a young man, grew up in Detroit. Like, when I met him at Elite 11, he was legitimately the best player in the country. Right, and had all the accolades, all the things, couldn't have been nicer. And then I think about what happened at UCLA and how easy it would have been for him to transfer somewhere, right, and go play right away. He'd started as a freshman, all the things, and he was smart enough and mature enough and humble enough to go to Oregon and be okay sitting behind Dylan Gabriel and learning. And now to see see where he's at now, I think it's an incredible testament to his character for sure.
That's great. I love hearing those stories. Alex Brink, former Coug, now with E4 Sports. All right, talk to me about E4's performance training. What are you guys doing for athletes to make a difference in that area?
Yeah, our E4's performance training is all about, developing the holistic athlete kind of off the field and off the court. So think strength training, speed training, agility training, working on injury prevention, flexibility, all those sort of things. Each athlete comes into our facilities, gets a custom program designed for them to address whatever needs they have, whether it's off season and they're trying to really make some gains, or in season and they just want to maintain what the work they've put in the off season. It's available for all athletes, male and female, ages 8 to 18. We got 3 facilities here in the metro area, one in Beaverton, one in Milwaukee, and one up in Vancouver. So check out e4sports.com, click on the performance training tab. You'll see all our programs, group classes, one-on-one training, really something for everybody if you have a young athlete trying to get better.
All right, just make sure, Alex, that I want you to follow lead from your coach. Don't be making excuses for why you can't broadcast as well as the other bigger schools, okay?
You betcha. I'm going to bring my A game every time.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Big thanks to Alex Brink. Love. Chad loves talking to Alex Brink and breaking down the games. Can't wait for the football games to kick off. Coming up on Friday, ASU and TCU. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing. All right, love talking ball. Alex Brink, a lot of people ask me about him. I get people that comment like, hey, I really like Brink. People text me. All I can tell you about Alex is that he's one of the coolest former athletes I've ever met. And it's been nice because I've developed a relationship with him, had a chance to work with him to assist him in what he's doing with E-Force a little bit. I just really appreciate him and Ryan DePaulo and what they do. But Alex is he's pure gold, and he knows quarterbacks. He works with these guys that you see in college now through Elite 11. And I love his stories about guys like Dante Moore and other guys he's worked with to talk about, their play, but also their character and what he's been able to gather from those young men when he has a chance to work with them. So big props to Alex Brink. That guy is pure gold. Well, I think it's important that we listen to this one more time. Just a little snippet. I can't believe that Mike Gundy was let go by the Cowboys. I tried to explain to my dad the timing and how things work in college sports, that you got to get out in front of this, and that's why it was probably better to let him go now. If you know you're going to part ways or make a move, then get on with it. Don't wait. Get out in front of it so you can try and, maybe ease some of the damage that's going to come with the portal and everything else. But I'm a big Mike Gundy fan. I had a chance to watch him play quarterback in the 80s with the Cowboys. He played with Barry Sanders and Hartley Dykes, and he was a part of those teams. So, and then he came back to coach at his alma mater. And he's been, a part of Oklahoma State football in some capacity for more than half his life. He's a unique individual and a very successful coach, and I've got nothing but respect for him. And, the bottom line is it was probably time. Nothing lasts forever. But Mike Gundy is a beauty, and he's one of those guys that did it his way and always, because I'm from Oklahoma and I got family there, like I appreciate some of the humor. I still think he's crazy because he would go on rattlesnake roundups. Anyone that actively seeks out a snake, I think, is a crazy person. Like, legitimately crazy. Like, if you're actively out on a rattlesnake roundup looking for snakes, you're crazy. Because most people like myself, we spend most of our life trying to avoid snakes. And I can't remember his name, but when I was still living in Denver, this is summertime, like 1986, and I was staying at one of my friend's house, stayed the night, and we're outside playing, some pickup baseball out in the street. And the ball went into this marshy area, and one of the boys went in to get the ball, and all of a sudden he started screaming, ah, ah, like a blood-curdling scream. And I was probably like, I don't know, 10 or 11 at the time. And a snake bit him in the backside, clamped down on his butt. So they had to bring out, I don't know, what do they call that, animal control or whatever it was. They brought those people out, and they went through this marsh area, and they found the snake. They wanted to make sure it wasn't poisonous, and it was a bull snake. So not poisonous, but it did bite him in the ass. It's just thinking about that makes me squirm. When I went back to Oklahoma a few years ago, I went to go visit the pond that was on my property when I was a kid, the place where I want my ashes sprinkled when I die. So it was like my happy place. I'd go fishing down there. We'd walk around the woods. We'd climb trees. Some dude put a deer stand up in a tree. Me and my buddy David would hang out there. Like, I love the woods were like my happy place. Because back then my mom was like, get out of the house and don't come back until it gets dark. And she wasn't lying. She's like, I don't want to see you around here. Get out of here. So we spent a lot of time outside, just doing boy type stuff, throwing rocks, using slingshots, BB guns, fishing. And it was great because I could take my pole down and I'd take a little bucket, and there was a bunch of crappie and bass in that pond. And every time I cast my line out, I was basically reeling something in. I usually used a spooner, but it was awesome. And I'd go down there by myself. But my dad would always warn me. He's like, keep an eye. If you're going to stand on the shores, keep an eye behind you so the water moccasins or the cottonmouths that are trying to get back into the water, they don't come up and bite you. My brother saw one behind him once, and he took like this club, like this old piece of wood, like it looked like a club, and like hammered the dome of the snake into the mud, and its body was like squirming around. That scared the crap out of me. But when I went back recently, I was taking pictures of the pond. It was during the fall time, so the leaves were turning. It was beautiful. And I look over, I'm like, and it's great because I've got the, I'm videotaping. I'm just taking a little video, You can hear like the crickets and the frogs. There was like a symphony, like the Lord's Symphony was playing music for me, and all of a sudden I see this big squiggly thing on top of the water, and I what? So I zoomed in, and it was a friggin' water moccasin that was just swimming freely across the water, fast too, by the way. I was not close to it, but it still freaked me out. But Mike Gundy's crazy. He'll go looking for snakes. And none of that, but anything that doesn't have it's like, excuse me, you don't have legs. How are you moving that fast? I almost went Happy Gilmore there. You got one eye. Chubs. But it's not normal. You shouldn't be able to move that fast if you don't have legs and you're not running or something. It's just creepiness. But anyways, this Mike Gundy, there's so many different coach meltdowns, like Denny Green, Mike Ditka. It's hard to rank them. Jim Moore's got like 4 or 5 of them that are just amazing. Coach meltdowns are the best. But this one here, I don't know if it ranks number 1 or not, but wherever you take these type of things, like the Smithsonian or the Hall of Fame or wherever you need to go, this right here is just a snippet of one of the greatest pressers of all time.
If anybody hasn't read this article, I don't read it. This was brought to me by a mother of children.
Okay, first off, he just said a mother of children. I can't even pick out what the best line in all of this is. It might be fat, but my question is, Coach, what else would she be a mother of? Of children. He said a mother of children. It's like, wait, what? Anyways.
I think this is worth reading. Let me tell you why I want to talk about this article. 3/4 of this is inaccurate. It's fiction.
Also, the way he says article and inaccurate, it reminds me of Oklahoma.
Here's all that kid did. He goes to class. He's respectful to the media. He's respectful to the public. And he's a good kid. And he's not a professional athlete. And he doesn't deserve to be kicked when he's down. That's why I don't read the newspaper. Because it's garbage. And the editor that let it come out is garbage. Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me or our coaches. And that's all I got to say. It makes me want to puke.
It truly is one of the all-time greats. What a beauty he was. My dad's very frustrated. He thought that they should show the respect by letting him finish out the year. But my dad doesn't quite understand the timing with the portal and the this and the that and the recruiting. He doesn't care. He just doesn't want to see a guy like Gundy, who's been so great to the program, be disrespected. Now, this has, this is also a personal favorite of mine, but it's the one, the only, the great coach, Mike Ditka. This is like 1 minute of like pure gold.
What do you want to know? Come on. Or I'm going to go in now, so if you don't... What? Doesn't matter which one run. There'll be a quarterback that'll be named next week that'll be the starter. There's 3 quarterbacks on this football team. Whichever one starts. Whichever ones don't, will back him up. Period. Cut and dried. It's nobody's concern but ours. Nobody's. Next.
Injuries from the game?
Talk to the trainer. Next.
You want it right now?
Mike, why are you in such a bad mood?
What do you care?
Good.
Okay. If you were 2-7, you'd be in a bad mood too. What next?
Mike, is this more like a training camp type practice as opposed to a regular season?
Yes. Next. Not very much fun, is it? No?
Not at all.
All right. I'll see you guys.
That's a beauty right there, too. What is better than Mike Ditka's response when the guy's like, hey, coach, why in such a bad mood? What do you care? It's the ultimate question when people say dumb things. What do you care? Like when you go to a restaurant and you sit down, and this happens to me all the time, you put your order in, they're like, that's all you're going to eat? And my thought is, Ditka always comes to mind, like, what do you care? You do you, I'm going to do me. What do you care? Is it that big a deal? What do you care what I eat? Mind your own business, please. Gosh, that's so good. So I put Gundy up on the list, Mike Ditka, Jim Mora. Jim Mora is a classic. Everything about Jim Mora is a beautiful thing.
You guys really don't know when it's good or bad when it comes right down to it.
Will you make a promise to us? Will you tell us when it's good?
And I'm promising you right now that you don't know when it's good or bad. You really don't know. Because you don't know what we're trying to do. You guys don't look at the films. You don't know what happened. You really don't know. You think you know, but you don't know. And you never will. Okay? Just for your own information. Sometimes I can tell you it won't be good, and you'll see it won't be good. Sometimes you'll think it's good, and it isn't any good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was pretty darn good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was bad. But basically, you really don't know. The only people that really know are our coaches. And that goes with run blocking, pass defense, all those things. The media, public doesn't know. You guys don't know. Not really know.
That's a beautiful take there by Jim Mora. You think you know, but you don't know, and you never will. All right, I could do this all night. Love it. Big thanks to all of our guests today, Chris Burkhardt, Alex Brink, Michael Shacker. You guys have a beautiful, beautiful evening, and I'll be back tomorrow. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.